stocking stitch is this smooth stitch that is created by knitting a row and then purling a row. And the back of stocking stitch looks like this. So it's sort of similar to the garter stitch bumps, but in stocking stitch, because it's every single row is a bump on the wrong side, they're closer together and a little bit smaller. So to work in stocking stitch, so you're going in from the left and wrapping around, and then once you've knitted that row, we're going to purl the next row. So it's that purl row that's going to give us the different texture. So if you were to purl every single row, because it's the reverse of a knit stitch, you would get the same texture as knitting every row, because it's a symmetrical fabric. Okay, so when you knit, you go in from the left side, but to purl, we're going to go in from the right side of the stitch. So also when you purl, you want to make sure that this piece of yarn is at the front. So when you're knitting, you want to come in, your needle comes in front of the yarn and you start with the yarn behind. But when you're going to purl, so you go in from right to left through the stitch, and then instead of going behind like we did with knitting, the right needle is going to come in front. So you're still forming an X, but this time the right needle's in front and you've gone from right to left through the stitch. So you want to start with this yarn here at the front. You don't want to have it underneath, as that's going to cause you some problems. You want to start with it here, and then you're wrapping it around this right needle. So you're going around the back and then back round to the front. So let me do that again so you can see exactly where we're going. You're going around the right needle like that and back to the starting point. And then, so with the knit stitch, we were scooping this right needle forward, and with the purl stitch, we're going to scoop it back. So I'm pushing it back till it pops through there, moving that loop down my right needle. And then as with the knit stitch, I'm just going to slide that loop off the left needle. So let's do that again. We'll do the first stitch again. So you're going in from the right side of the stitch. So don't forget the yarn has to be at the front for a purl stitch. So you don't want to go with the yarn around here. That's going to mess you up. You're not wrapping it that way. You need to have the yarn sitting in front. The needle goes in from the right side, so it's tip to tip, and the right needle sits in front, and then you want to wrap the yarn around the back of that right needle, across and back round to the front. And then you want to hold it in your right hand with the right needle and then push the tip back, and it should appear there. Move it onto the thicker bit of your needle, then take the left needle out. So I'm going to do that again for the next stitch. So we're going in, so tip to tip with the right needle in front. So you're creating your little cross again. And then you're going to wrap the yarn around the right needle like that, back round to the starting point, and then push the tip back, and it just comes out through there. So I'm going to try and show you the next stitch from the back as I'm pushing the needle. So first I'm going to wrap the yarn, and then I just want to show you this bit so you know exactly where that needle's going. So this is the stitch, that's the wrapped bit around my needle. So it's starting here, and we're just going back through there. So you're going in, around, and then pushing back. So we're going to keep doing that to the end of the row. So you're going in, around the needle, and then pushing it back. Okay, so now we've finished our purl row. You can already see we're starting to get a different pattern forming at the top there. So on the back, we've got our ridges, but they're much closer together than the garter stitch ones were. And then on the front, we've got these little V shapes. So we're going to work another couple rows in stocking stitch. So when you've got this smooth side facing towards you, you're going to knit a row. And if you're not sure which is your smooth side and which is your bumpy side, we can go and refer to the little trick with the piece of yarn here. If you've got the right side facing you, which is the smooth side and the side where you need to knit, you're going to have this tail on the left. So when you're holding the needle in your left hand ready to start knitting another row, the tail on this side means that this is a knit row. So for knit row, you want the yarn towards the back. You are going to insert your right needle so it goes through the stitch in the same direction as the other knitting needle. Then you're wrapping the yarn around the right needle, but it's below the left needle. And then you're bringing the tip forward. So we're going to knit all of the stitches on this row. And this is going to make that stocking stitch pattern even more defined. And then when we get to the end of the row, we're just going to swap those needles over again. And now I've got this needle ready to work my next row in my left hand. I can see that the tail is now sitting at the right side of my knitting, so it's the same end as the yarn attached to my knitting. Because of that, I know that this is a wrong side row, and I can also see that this is the bumpy side of my fabric, and the bumpy side means that it's the wrong side. So we're going to work a purl row. So if you've got this short tail at the same end as your yarn, and you've got the bumpy side facing you, that means we're going to purl.